So what is Toohey after? What's his motive? What's driving him? Well, in part two, we get the story of his childhood, and we see, through the various incidents that are shown, we see some of the kinds of things, we get an indication into some of his motives and the kinds of things that are driving him. And in part four of the novel, in his speech to Peter Keating, he tells us explicitly what he's after. And what he's after is power over men. He wants to rule men's souls. And at the age of 15, he formulates the goal of collecting souls, and this is what he acts on through his entire life. Now, his basic method of collecting souls is by preaching the philosophy of collectivism, preaching the philosophy of altruism. His goal is to kill men's sense of values, kill their independent pursuit of happiness, in order to turn people basically into puppets who are subject to his control. If he's able to convince people that altruism is a moral ideal, that self-sacrifice, the renunciation of personal values is a moral ideal, he manages to get them to, renounce any kind of selfish individual pursuits in life, and he manages to convince them to give up everything that's important to them. And in effect, what he accomplishes is he destroys their self-esteem and turns them into somebody who's, looking for someone who can tell them what to do. So this is Toohey's methodology in going about collecting souls, and we see this, in the way that he acts toward Katie Halsey, toward Keating, toward all the people he comes into contact with as a vocational advisor, in college. He advises people to give up when he sees somebody who's passionate about a certain career, his advice is to give that up. He doesn't want anybody to be passionate about anything. He wants them to sacrifice their values, and when they've given up everything that's important, given up every important aspect of themselves, they have nothing left, and they come to Ellsworth Toohey seeking leadership. So this is his basic mode of operation. And Ayn Rand described the character of Ellsworth Toohey in her notes in preparing for the novel. And this is the way she describes, this is part of her description of Ellsworth Toohey. Toohey is the paragon of spiritual second-handedness. Basically, Toohey is non-creative. He has nothing of his own to offer, to himself or to others. His evil lies in the fact that he knows it, accepts it, and glories in it. Toohey knew himself to be incapable of intrinsic superiority or independence. He made of this his virtue. He dedicated himself to the destruction of all superiority and all independence. He accepted consciously the negation of all values, of all ideals, of all that is high and noble in man, with a full realization of the meaning of such values, not in frustrated longing for an ideal, but in cold and deliberate hatred of all integrity. He chose to be consciously evil. He is the great nihilist of the spirit. So what is Ellsworth Toohey's role